Congratulations, you made it to Earth. Whether this is your first time around or you've been here many times before, I am so stoked that you're here. My name is Tanner. Welcome to Earth 101, a podcast about how to be human in the midst of a massive shift in the collective consciousness. We will chat all about life purpose, healing, spirituality, awakening, and a whole lot more that I have yet to think of. Thank you so much for your support. I hope you enjoy. Hello, my name is Tanner. Thank you so much for tuning in to this very first episode of a brand new podcast done by another person who just wants to hear himself talk. This is Earth 101. I have decided to start talking into this microphone in front of my iPhone 14 Plus because I felt a call to share words. I've felt a call for the last year. I felt a call for since I was a kid, but really seriously in the last year. I bought this microphone a year ago and still haven't touched it. It's been sitting underneath my bed. And the call in my heart became irresistible or unavoidable. And that is what I want to start today and start this podcast talking about is the call of the heart. Because what this podcast is a basic overview of how to exist on this planet. I believe we are all spiritual beings who have chosen to come here to this earth for a very important purpose. Every single one of us has a purpose that we're here to serve. And our mission is to remember that purpose. We chose to come here for a reason, and it's important that we tune in and try to access that reason so that we can fulfill the purpose. And the way that I feel we do that I believe so firmly in and have really dedicated my whole life to pursuing this path is the path of the red road, or the path of tuning into the heart. So I want to explain an overview of what that means, why it's so important, and how to do it. So what does it mean to tune into your heart? It is, I believe that the heart is your connection to spirit. So we have our body in this physical reality where we use logic and emotion to survive in. And then we have the opposite spectrum of spirit, which is the connection to something greater, the connection to the essence of this universe, of consciousness, and of this divine dance that's happening. And so we have those two sides. We have the physical and we have the spiritual. And we connect to the physical with our senses, and we connect to the spiritual with our heart, is what I believe. And so as you go through this process of learning how to connect with your heart, what you're doing is connecting to the fabric of this universe. And you shift from a fear-based consciousness, from a survival-based consciousness, where it's like you're battling everything, like the world is against you, you have to fight to survive. You shift from that mindset and that way of being into a consciousness of love and unity, and you begin to see how every element around you is working for your good, that we are all one, that we are all working towards the same goal, and that nothing in this world can be against you. It's impossible. So tuning into the heart is learning how to hear the voice of spirit and how to trust that that is actually what you're hearing and that you can follow it and that you are guided and protected at all times. So that's what it means to me. Essentially, it's a way of doing life easier. Instead of swimming upstream, it's a release to the flow of life so that you can just be. So, how do you do this? How do you connect to the heart? Well, it's a long process and it's a lifelong process. And the only way to start is by doing. So I want to explain a visual that I use in order to tune into my heart and understand all the different feelings that are coming from the body and spirit and my hunger and my fear and everything. There's so much coming at you at all times, it's hard to decipher. So I want to break down a 4-quadrant axis to help explain how to tap into your intuition. On one axis is the axis of the body. And the needs of the body in order to survive, you have the positive and the negative, or the attraction and the aversion. So on this axis of the body, on one end, you have impulse, which is your hunger, your desire, your bodily desire for things, which could be food or sex or, those are the main ones, right? And then the opposite side, you have the negative aversion. So that's your fear, your anxiety. So you have things that push you towards, and you have things that push you away, that come from your body. The other axis, which we'll call the y-axis, is the axis of your intuition. And on the positive end of the intuition is a calling. So it's a deep knowing that you need to move towards something. And on the other end of the intuition axis is the negative, or the I'm forgetting the word that I used, but it's a deep knowing that something doesn't resonate. So there are different scenarios that fall into each of these quadrants. In the positive end of both of those axes would be something that is impulsively attractive to you and is also a calling from your intuition. So that could be something like I've experienced, which is dropping everything and moving to California. That was something that I impulsively really wanted to do. Like my body was like, yeah, something new, something exciting. But it also felt like it was a deep calling. Another quadrant that you have would be an impulse from the body, but the other end of the intuitive spectrum, which is out of alignment with your calling. So it's something you impulsively want to do, but you know deep in your being that it's out of alignment with who you are. And this could be like deciding to go out to drink alcohol if you are a recovering alcoholic. Something your body is asking you to do is pushing you towards, but something deep down you know is out of alignment. And there are areas in all 4 of those quadrants. So this process of tuning into the intuition is learning and paying attention to your body to figure out what am I being impulsively attracted to? What is a desire that I have of the body? What is a fear of the body? A natural fear response. What is a calling of the intuition? And what is the feeling of being out of alignment with your intuition? And the only way to do this is by trial and error. It's over and over again, tuning in to the sensations in your body and paying attention to the outcome. So, an example in my own life would be I felt a deep calling to go to Ecuador to work with plant medicines, and it was something that I was really fearful of because I haven't really traveled by myself much, and it's a lot to trust people you don't know with that kind of experience. So I was feeling a lot of fear, but I was also feeling a deep calling. And at the time, this was for around or maybe 3 years ago. I hadn't yet developed as fine-tuned of an intuition yet. So I wasn't really sure what feelings I was feeling. I was feeling this fear and I was feeling this calling, but I was confused. I wasn't sure if the fear meant it was out of alignment or if the calling was actually an impulse. I was confused. So what it took was trying it out, trying out following that call and then paying attention to the outcome. Was it something that at the end of the day, it brought me something positive, even if it was incredibly difficult, even if it was painful, even if it felt like it was something negative? When I look back, was it something that I needed to experience? And yes, it was. So I was able to label the feeling that I was feeling as a call and also a fear response in my body. So you do this over and over again until you start to get used to these feelings. And then you begin to trust yourself more and trust yourself more and trust yourself more. And listen to your heart and follow your heart and act on those feelings. And the more that you do that, the more that you trust yourself and the more that you trust the universe at large. Because so that's an overview of, so we went over the basics of what it means to follow your heart, and that's a little bit about how to follow your heart. And I want to go into a little bit why it's so important. Because, and this one is a little bit of a tough pill to swallow, but the truth of the matter is that you can either live, and there's gray area everywhere, of course, as there is with everything, but you have the option. You can either live in a victim mindset that is based out of fear and based out of survival, where you feel like the world is against you, that every single boss that you have hates you, that's why you're not feeling fulfilled in your work, that every romantic partner you've had is a a-hole and that's why you haven't found love. You can place blame on everything outside of yourself. You could do that forever. You could do that for your whole life if you want. And I'll tell you right now, it's miserable. Because you live in a feeling that the world is against you and that nothing's going your way. The other option is to release and to understand that you are calling in every single thing in your life. Every single thing. You're calling in the positive experiences that we label positive, And you're also calling in the experiences that we often label as negative, that feel bad, that feel painful. You are calling in the partner that doesn't treat you well. You are calling in the boss that doesn't acknowledge your value. You are calling in the flood that destroys the basement of your home. We are living in a divine symphony of variables that are all working for our good, that are all contributing to our evolution as a person. Every single thing. And if you find yourself repeating cycles, like, this is my 5th job that's the same way, all my coworkers hate me, like, that means something. It means that there's a lesson that you need to learn, and you're going to keep repeating the cycle until you learn it. Unfortunately, because it's really unpleasant. It sucks to repeat cycles over and over and over again. Especially if you feel like it's not your fault. Especially if you feel like it's just happening to you. But the truth is you need to learn the lesson. So your soul has called in these lessons for you to learn. And it's going to keep happening until you learn it. So this process of tuning into your heart is a process of understanding that everything in my life I am in charge of. I call in every single thing into my life. It's a process of taking power over your experience here. And kind of a side tangent, but a beautiful lesson that I've learned is that there is power in surrender, and surrender requires power. So oftentimes people think about power in your life. They think about like the way that people force power over others, or they think about control. People think that control and power are the same thing. Like, being in power over your life means controlling everyone around you, or it means controlling exactly what situations come towards you. But that's not power. What power is, in order to truly have power over your life and start to create the life that you really deeply want and are aligned with, you have to surrender. Because the process of surrender means that you know deep within your being, you are part of a much greater system that is working for your good. So your mind that uses logic and thinking in general, you understand that your mind doesn't actually know what's going on. That you can't trust your mind to make decisions for yourself about what's best for you. That you can't trust your impulses to guide your experience. Surrender is knowing I am taken care of, and everything that comes into my life is for my own good. And from that place, that's where true power lies. Because you no longer let your outside circumstances affect your core being. That's where the I am comes from. Once you reach that state of presence and surrender, it's not, I am Tanner, I am this job, I am this relationship, that all of that attachment leads to suffering when it will inevitably change. I am means I am. I am observing. I am love. I am trust. I am surrender. I am one. We are all one. The path of the heart is freedom. It is freedom from suffering. It's freedom from anxiety, freedom from depression, freedom from attachment. And that's not to say that you won't experience anxiety, that you won't experience fear, that you won't experience depression. But what it means is that those things no longer control you. By surrendering, you take the control back. You say, I actually choose not to let this situation put me into a panic. I feel the anxiety rising, but I choose not to allow it to take over. I feel this emptiness building, but I choose not to let it consume me. Surrender is taking control of your existence. And it is the most important thing that you can do in this life. So, that's the basis of, that's how I live, how I'm trying to live. And that's why I'm doing this right now. Because there's something within me telling me that I need to. Like, I can spend all day thinking about all of the reasons why this doesn't make sense. You know? I can think about all the reasons why it doesn't make sense for me to end this relationship I was just in. I can think about all the reasons why it doesn't make sense for me to quit this awesome job I just had. But it doesn't make sense. Like, the decisions we make based out of the heart don't make sense. They don't make logical sense. And people in our world hate that. Like, they label that as crazy. If you can't like show them a pros and cons list that mathematically the pros weigh out the cons, then people think you're crazy if you make a decision based on your heart. But the world we live in is crazy. Feeling like you need to battle every single day to exist, that's crazy. Because we are abundant. We are taken care of at all times. Everything is working together for our good. It's crazy to think that we're separate. That's what's crazy. It's crazy to think that I am different than you and you and you. It's crazy that violence exists, you know? That's crazy. There's no way we could hurt each other if we all understood this truth that we are one. It's impossible. So, this illusion of separation, that's what's crazy. Understanding that you are taken care of and that you have sacred knowledge built into your DNA that guides you, that, to me, makes the most sense in the world. You have to look at the fruit. In the Bible, it says, a good tree cannot bear bad fruit, a bad tree cannot bear good fruit, something along those lines. Like, take a look at your life right now. The way that you're doing things. is living out of fear, is fearing your own power to love, is fearing like trusting in yourself, is fearing betting on yourself to start the business or to move to the new state, is fearing all of that working for you. Look at the fruits of your labors. What fruit has fear created for you? Okay, cool. Now try something new. Try something new that doesn't make sense. Trust yourself. Follow your heart. Let it take you where it needs to go. Because I'll tell you this, the fruit that's come from myself doing that, it's completely changed my life and put me in a state of peace that I never thought was possible. So yeah. I'm excited to see where this goes. This podcast. I'm excited to share more of what I am so passionate about with you. If you've stayed this far, if you are still listening, that's cool. Thank you. I look forward to the next time that our paths cross, whether in person or virtually. I will talk to you soon. Okay. Much love to all of you. Seriously. I wish you all peace, love, and unity. Goodbye.